Well, the annual Real Estate GRI Summit kicks off today in Paris. Investing in German property and REITs, real estate investment trusts, are the topics dominating a series of panel discussions. More now from our main man on the ground. You've seen him before, Mr. Dan Scott. Dan, what are you hearing on the ground? What are you watching?
Well, good morning, Louisa, and welcome back to the Global Real Estate Summit. And perhaps the best way to tell you what's being discussed right now is if I introduce you to the chairman of the Global Real Estate Institute, Henri Alster. Thank you very much for joining us, and tell us a little bit about what's being discussed here.
Dan, what is being discussed is too much money. Is this a bubble? And if it is a bubble, is it going to burst? And can we get out in time? I think the overriding concern of everybody here is prices have gone up to such an extent in the last 5 years. They said it last year, they said it 2 years ago, it can't go any higher, and every year it goes higher. Is it going to last?
And on the same token, though, fund managers will sit there. They have capital that's been allocated to them that they have to invest in the real estate markets. They're chasing perhaps too few opportunities like you put out. But then again, if they don't invest, they might miss out on the growth.
Indeed, and what happens is people redefine what is acceptable risk. British pension funds until about a year ago would only invest, if they invested in real estate, only in the UK. In the last year, virtually every pension investor is looking at Europe, if not actually investing in Europe. Others that were investing in Europe are now looking at Eastern Europe, China, India. People are redefining what is acceptable risk. What used to be subprime Class B suddenly becomes Class A. It's a concern.
And so how do you tackle this? I mean, if the problem is the prices are being inflated too much, that the margin now between the lending rates and the return on property is starting to diminish, how do you as an industry group try and redefine the parameters of doing business and making things profitable again?
It depends who you are. If you're a professional investor and you have significant means at your disposal, you go into situations that are messy, unusual, where no one dared to tread before. Many of the large opportunity funds are now acquiring portfolios from governments, from corporations, from people that are known as bad managers, people that have no time to worry about managing their real estate, and therefore that real estate is mismanaged. They buy it in enormous bulks and spend the next 3-5 years restructuring it, selling it, repositioning it, and in the process making money. But if you want to buy an existing property, it's a trophy property, it's beautiful, it's fully leased, you're going to pay through the nose.
There's been a lot of discussion and concern about the leverage of certain investors into the property market that now have gearing of over 70%. And if we do have a correction, if interest rates all of a sudden do take a wrong turn, how do you foresee this having the knock-on effect for the rest of the industry? I mean, it could be a very hard landing.
It could be a very hard landing. It's a question on everybody's mind. The margins are so thin today. If interest rates start reversing course, although there is no real sign of that on the horizon, and everyone hopes that if that happens, it's not going to be drastic. It's going to be a very small correction. But should it happen in a significant way, a lot of people are going to be underwater, no question about it.
And so for the retail investor out there who is very excited about the fact that real estate has outperformed other asset classes over the last 5 years and still wants to get in on the real estate market, I mean, if the overall picture is looking quite bleak, then how would you recommend trying to invest into the real estate market? I mean, there seem to be many new ways of getting in on the market. Like we should very soon now in the UK have the first listed REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust.
There are so many newcomers into the marketplace, some of which are very professional, some of which have never done real estate before, are organizing large pools of capital and certainly proclaiming themselves to be professional real estate investors. One can invest in real estate. Real estate is still one of the foremost asset classes that has proven itself as being resilient and performing, but you want to stick to the established operators, people that are not just sitting on their real estate and waiting for it to appreciate. That's no longer the game, but people that know how to work real estate, how to create value, and are professional, experienced, established operators. Don't go for fly-by-nighters. Very dangerous. You're going to lose a lot of money.
Henri Alster, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.